Be careful not to choke on your aspirations, Director.
Jeez, Dad, not in front of my friends. You're embarrassing me. Come on, Han, let's go play at your house. Okay people, welcome back to another Fwoosh review. Tonight I am super happy to be taking a look at the Hasbro Star Wars Black Series 40th Anniversary Darth Vader. Now it's not like this has been out for a long time. The sighting started last week at Target and I absolutely lost my shit. I needed it. I wanted it. I wanted to compare. I've been looking for that perfect Vader forever. Yes, there have been some great ones, but man, as soon as I saw this one I thought, oh, that could be in the running for the display Vader. So I've been keeping an eye on BrickSeek. This morning, an in-stock alert popped up in a Target that is about an hour away. But to hell with all that. I jumped in the truck, ran up the mountain, found it, came back, and now I'm happy. I'm happy that I have this Darth Vader. And I haven't even opened it yet, but I am so excited about having this. The packaging is awesome. The figure looks awesome. I'm gonna rip into this. Now, like I said, the packaging looks very cool. I don't have the early bird set to compare to, but I will. So today I'm only gonna focus on the figure itself and the packaging for that, but the rest of the stuff in here, I may have access to the vintage early bird set, but that may take a couple days. So I'm gonna hold off on that. If you're interested in seeing that, go ahead and throw a comment down below, and I'll try to get that up in the near future. So I don't know what is replicated from the vintage set or what is just made up for this set, but this art down here just makes me think, oh, 1970s, that's awesome. But that's the front of the box. The back of the box shows the figure all on the early bird stand there, the backdrop with it flipped around, and then the other figures in the 40th line. The first series, except for Darth Vader, are all re-releases. Princess Leia got a new head sculpt and head paint. Makes it look much better. You can go back and check out the review on that. What I'm looking forward to most after Vader is, of course, the Death Squad Commander, the Sand People, or Tusken Raider, and the Jawa. And then for the Wave 2 with the new characters and a couple of more re-releases, that's coming in June 2017. But other than the pretty pictures, we have words telling what's in the set, a bunch of unreadables. Probably says something like, thanks for buying Darth Vader 13.0, hope this version works for you. Quick look at the figure itself on the card, and very vintage feeling, very nostalgic. It throws me back to walking into Walmart or Otasco or one of those stores and seeing the vintage carded figures. And then on the back, again, the other figures, the early bird kit. But as pretty as this is, as tempting as it is to start a carded collection with this in it, I'm more interested in the figure itself. Cardboard's cool, but plastic is better. So this is coming open. Yeah. And there we go, all out of the package. And I'm kind of afraid to admit this right off the bat, but this may be it. This may be the display Vader. And I'm talking about over the model kit, I'm talking about over the Mafex, I'm talking about really the original Black Series Vader. But we'll get to that here in a little bit. Right now, I'm going to talk about the sculpt. The sculpt itself is great. There's detail all over this costume, especially the undergarment, the cloth covering under his armor, under his gloves, under his boots. There's just a lot of little wrinkles, a little fabric detail that, well, it's plastic, but it looks like fabric because of the added detail to it. And at first glance, I thought, well, the limbs are reuse, the legs are reuse, that's all from the first Black Series Vader. And it's really not. There's subtle changes to the wrinkles, to the fabric. It looks almost the same because, really, I mean, it's the same character between the two. And on the first version, it really looked good on that aspect of it. And why wouldn't they replicate that again? But it's not reuse. In fact, I would say that I hate to say 100%, but I'll say 99.9% of this is original sculpt. And this time around, they really nailed the helmet. They made the upper helmet, not the mask, but the hood part, they made it bigger, which makes it much more realistic, much more movie-like. And that's exactly what a Black Series Darth Vader needed, on top of being a solid playable toy, which is what this is. Move over to paint, and it kind of takes a hit there, but only in a couple spots. For the most part, it's silver, it's black. There's some green and some red here and there. So it's really hard to mess it up. The greens and the reds and most of the silver looks really good, but you get to the black stripes here on the chest armor, and when you're just glancing at it, it looks okay, but when you look really close, the black edge here on the black paint doesn't really go to where they're supposed to. In fact, this one right here is pretty nasty. I didn't notice that for the first 10 minutes I had it out of the package. And really, when it comes down to it, that's a pretty easy fix. I'll come in with some gloss black or something, just clean that up. But most people don't do that, so that's something to look out for when you see these at the store. I didn't really get a chance to look at any of the others in the case, but this one, this is the one the manager pulled out, handed to me, and I ran off to the register real quick to pay for it. Not even thinking, you know. But if that's the worst there is, I can live with that. Everything else is pretty clean. Now, the first thing you'll notice are the eyes. They aren't black. They're the brown, kind of reddish tint from the movie. And you didn't see it all the time, but it was there. And I've seen pictures, and I don't know if it's people's flashes, people's cameras, but in person, it doesn't really look that terribly different from the rest of the costume. It doesn't draw your eye as bad as it does in pictures. And it may be doing it right here, but for the most part, it's just a subtle little thing. Or maybe each figure's different. I don't know. But on mine, yeah, it's not that big a deal, it seems like. And then there's the cloth goods. When I first pulled this out, I was like, where does the cape end? For just being the cape, there is a lot of material here, but it doesn't really get in the way. I'm not a huge fan of cloth goods, but here, it kind of works. The only thing that bothers me is when you try to bring it forward, it kicks up right there. And that's not really, I mean, anything you can do about that. It still looks okay. It still drapes. You can still bring it to here, and it falls pretty nice. But if you fold this under and bring it over his shoulder, oh man, that just looks great. I mean, there's no getting around that unless you have a plastic cape, and in that case, you wouldn't have as much movement. It's a give and take. Vader is a character that has a lot of robes on him, so going with the cloth is not a bad idea because of, you know, movement hindered either here or in the arms. So this is about as good as you're going to get, I think, with cloth. I mean, it's nice and heavy, it falls, it drapes, it looks good, I mean, for what it is. Then the underrobe, it lays pretty nice too. It's not as thick and flowing as the cape, but it's usually hidden by the cape, so not a huge deal. And you'll notice it comes up and over the chest armor. Now, I've only seen Rogue One in the theater, and then I kind of caught some glimpses on it after I bought it. And I don't remember if it's like this in Rogue One, but I do remember early A New Hope when this was up over the armor. And I just chalk that up to him having his dress armor and having his battle armor. So it can change, and it changes looks movie to movie anyway, so it's not a huge deal breaker for me, but it may be for somebody. But if you want to, you could do some customizing and bring that off of the shoulders, put it under the chest armor. I don't know if the chest armor is a separate piece. Yeah, it seems like the chest armor is a separate piece. So if you wanted to, you could probably heat that up, pry it up a little bit, cut these, stick it under the armor, whatever you wanted to do. And then finally, just quick glimpsing it, the chain is missing. In A New Hope, he had like a black chain, from what I've noticed, at least early in the movie. The figure does not have that. Now, going over articulation, there seems to be a ball under here, but because of the design of Darth Vader's helmet, you're not going to get a lot of neck movement anyway. So, a little bit forward, a little bit back, that's about it. A little bit of side to side. And of course, there's swivel. Hinge and swivel at the shoulder, and this time around, they sculpted the shoulder pad to the arm, which means it doesn't get in the way, it doesn't flop around, but it doesn't get in the way either whenever you come up. The shoulder pad goes into the torso. Yeah, I like it when it does that. And then, of course, it swivels around. Hinge and swivel at the elbow, comes up a little past 90. Not much past 90, but just a little bit. And then there's swivel. Hinge and swivel at the wrist. You get hinge, you get swivel, and they did side to side on the lightsaber hand. Not my favorite way of doing that. I like up and down when there's sword play involved, but can't have everything. There is a ball at the lower torso, and it gives him a little bit of back and a little bit of forward, a little bit of side to side, but not much at all. Does give some twist, but you're going to be pulling on this cloth robe under the cape. So, yeah, a little bit of movement, not great. Hinge and swivel at the hip, goes out about to right there, goes forward and kicks out because of this crotch piece right here. Back, about right there. There's a swivel at the thigh. Double knee, all the way up. There's a hinge at the ankle. Back, really, really good. Forward, not so much. The armor gets in the way. And then forward-facing pin for rocker. For accessories, Vader comes with his lightsaber, and that's about it. And the whole early bird set, but like I said, I'll get into that in another video. Good sculpt here. What I like the most is how deep the red is of the blade. It's not that pinkish color. It's a deep crimson red. And then the blade does come out. You can pop that off and then leave it with just the hilt. And the hilt is a good sculpt. It has the little windshield wiper blades down at the bottom. And then you get a little silver paint on the hook and the center of the hilt, and then the little buttons across the igniter. I guess that's what that is. And then you get one gold dot right here on the back. Hey, it's an extra color. I'm not going to gripe about that. And then with that hook right there, he does have another hook right here on his belt. But his belt is a little bit rubbery, so you try to hook it on there, and it almost doesn't fit. It's kind of a bitch to put on there, really. But once you do, it kind of pops out, like he's using the force to pick it up, pull it out. And then we get down to the Battle of the Darth Vaders! Let's get ready to rumble! Comparing the 40th anniversary Black Series Vader to the Metacom Mafex Darth Vader, you can see that the Black Series has the bulk to it, both in the body, in the limbs, and especially in the head. Now, I love the Mafex Darth Vader. It's a good figure. But as good as the Mafex is, the limbs are a little bit scrawny, the head is a little bit small. And that becomes really noticeable whenever you put it against other action figures. Get to the Black Series, it looks like there's actually a dude under the helmet, that the helmet is big enough to fit a human head under it. And then the limbs a little bit bulkier, a little bit beefier. And then we get to the original Hasbro Black Series figure. I'll be honest, I hate this figure. I don't like it. It's floppy, it's messy. I like the bulk to the body, but it's hard to stand. I don't know if the detents are in the wrong place or some joints are loose. And then I do not like the removable helmet feature to show Anakin underneath. It just never worked. The helmet didn't pop on. And I ended up donating the cape from this figure to my Bandai model kit. But as you can see, the new Vader replicates the nice bulkiness of the body of the first one, but it takes the face, turns it from a sad walrus into a mean bastard, and then made the dome itself bigger to make it look like the original Vader helmet, really. Less like the cartoony look of the original Black Series. And while I have both of these right here, as you can see, the chest box is bigger on the new Vader. The belt is different. The space between the buckle and the boxes, it's greater on the original Vader. On the new one, they're closer together. The boxes themselves are different. The buttons are smaller on the new Vader. There's a red button off to the side. The crotch piece looks about the same, but it's got that extra wrinkliness or blow-up doll look to it from Rogue One. The legs are almost the same, but the sculpt is slightly different on the front armor piece of the new figure. And then as you can see on the back of the boot, the new figure has some texture detail to the surface. The old one doesn't. There's a bigger strap right here across the top. Same with the arms, but you can see that the new one's arms are a little bit shorter, making him look more stout, more tough. He doesn't look as marionette as the old one. Of course, there's new gloves. It's got the side ribs instead of the up and down. And then, like I talked about, the head itself. Oh man, the new one, it just blows the old one away. And then finally, there is, at least for me, the pinnacle of Darth Vader's up to this point, and that's the Bandai model kit Darth Vader. Yes, it has its downfalls. The original has the plastic candy shell cape and the robes underneath the belt. But, as you can see, I took my original Black Series cape, put it on this one. Makes it look much better. Makes it more dynamic. But comparing the new Black Series against the model kit, the overall figure is different, but the new Black Series figure emulates that bulkiness that I liked from the model kit. And if I didn't know any better, and I know they didn't, and I'm not accusing them of doing it, but if I was an asshole, which I guess I am because I'm going to come out and say it, it almost looks like they scanned the model kit head and printed it onto their Darth Vader. I know they didn't. The V's of the mouth are a little bit different, and really, when it comes down to it, they're both working off the same original look. So to me, both the Bandai kit and the Black Series figure having almost the exact same head makes me more confident that the heads are as damn close as we're going to get in 6-inch scale. Just freaking me out how close they are now that I have them side by side. I mean, it's really hard to see right here because the model kit is just straight black, and the Black Series kind of uses mattes and shiny to bring out the different details of the face itself. I mean, they're almost the same size, they're almost the same shape, but there are tiny, tiny differences. So at the end of the day, I am happy to say that Hasbro nailed it. It's not perfect, but what action figure is? I mean, a lot of them get close, and Hasbro got damn close here. The sculpt is there. What little paint that is needed is there, except for maybe that black stripe, but I'm not going to grab too much about that, even though this is like the third time I bring it up. But beyond that, it's a nice, solid action figure. I haven't had any problem at all standing this up at any point during this review. All the joints are tight, they all work well, and yeah, there's a couple of joints that don't have the range of movement that we like to see in action figures, but that's one of the downfalls of the Vader costume itself. The chest box is running into the belt. The helmet itself is probably a claustrophobic nightmare inside of it, so yeah, there's not a lot of range of movement there because the actual helmet doesn't have a lot of range of movement. The cloth goods do not bother me at all. In fact, I like them better than what we saw with the model kit. I know I didn't compare it to the SH Figure Arts Vader, but I know that is too small for the rest of my 6-inch figures. I never got it. I've seen comparison pictures. And yeah, while it looks good, it just doesn't stand up to the rest of my collection. I want my Vader to be tall, menacing, evil, and that's what Hasbro has given us. It comes all the way back around. I've talked so much shit about Hasbro and their Black Series figures in the past, at least with the human characters, that Hasbro came in and said, you know what, Robo, you can shut the hell up, because here's your Ultimate Vader. Now, there is another player on the field. Medicom has a Rogue One Mafex figure coming later this year, so the battle isn't over. But Hasbro just knocked my model kit and Mafex off the shelf. They're going to the shelf of misfit toys. And while the Black Series Stormtrooper could use some tweaks, you see Hasbro putting it back out in the 40th line. It's getting a re-release. They could have easily done that with the original Darth Vader. They didn't. They gave us a whole new sculpt, whole new figure. They engineered the whole thing over again. And I appreciate that. And that's good on Hasbro. And they did a great job with this figure. All the companies keep one-upping each other, and it's hell on our wallets. I say if you see this on the shelf, and it should be available at all places. It's hitting Target right now. I had to ask to get it pulled out of the back, but it's going to be at Toys R Us. It's going to be at Walmart. It's going to be online. You're going to be able to find this easily at some point, I'm sure. If you've been waiting, this is the one to grab. But then again, if you're not into the 40th packaging, you just want the figure itself, you don't need the early bird kit. I do think that this is getting a re-release in the red box, standard release later on. So you can wait for that too. You should be happy that you waited. I'm sure am happy that I spent so much money on so many Vaders. But oh well, this is where the road led us, and I'm happy. So if you like the review, comment, like, subscribe. I'll catch you on the Fwoosh.